Hello, this is Maximus Row. This is part 3 of the first tierlist, which is going to go over cells that starts with the letter C. Starts off with, we go to the California sea lion. The bitter person, I think, should have been the aquatic park, since this is by far the most commonly kept pinniped in captivity due to faithful nature and high intelligence, and all the fact that it is notable for being the fastest sea lion in the world. Now, an execution from the California sea lion, the females look fine, good, darker, but the males aren't as bulky as they should be, and they're meant to be more dark, so they're not especially an execution. So the females are done okay, is what prevents for being in the medium, like the bad category B. To I think around here. So the capybara, which for a very long time was the most high requested on the get, and it's another of the things should have been in the base game, considering it's notable for being the largest rodent in the world. It's very prominent such activity, and nowadays is a fan favorite animal. Now I would put in the X category, especially since the capybara. But I think the model was decent. Could have been a bit scruffy. It's still a decent model, and it's still a very low size in captivity, and you can house it with other South American animals. In I think between this and the art, it feels it's a little bit more versatile than the aardvark, so this will be where it goes. Going on to the caracal of the grasslands pack. There's some interesting little made to the grasslands pack, so the circles. I think this is more with an arid species of cats. It's still a very common sight to achieve, though it's a smaller, lesser known lizard houses. It is tufted ears, and it's a very agile species of cats. Um, out all the cats in the game, it's definitely amongst the best ones. It looks very accurate to sort of counts, but it's one of those things in which the face actually looks good. It actually, well, looks like how a character's face is supposed to look. Could have maybe looking a little bit grumpy, but it's sort of bottle. I know there's some people that feel like the tail's a bit stubby, so I think that's something to take into account of how I'm putting it. I think it's better looking at the black tail prairie dog, so this will be where it goes. Moving on to the cheetah, obvious choice for the face game. It's an iconic African animal, an iconic cat, very common in captivity. Out of all the cats in the base game, I do think this is easily the best one. It's actually one of the better base game animals. So it actually does a good job looking how cheetahs can look in the wild. It might how cheap like many in captivity, but it still looks pretty good. And yeah, actually is a little better than most the game, which is a bit sad. So I think it I think that slightly above the Africans typically look like, so see where it goes. Moving on to the Chinese pangolin, a bit of an odd. So I guess that the notable being the most trafficked town in the world, but the very, very characteristic of how difficult they are to look after. And the Chinese pangolin in particular, again, it's probably the most common pangolin of defaults, since you can find it in 2 places in Europe, 2 places in Asia, and that's about it. I know this, the more with how it's executed, I think detailed as not later on in the game, and along with the fact that it doesn't have the ability to clock, and despite it being a species that's capable of doing that, it isn't. I wouldn't say it's a highly arboreal species, so too much of a necessity, but it's still bringing up. I actually think the model looks pretty good. It's actually detailed and it's so I think the fact that it doesn't climb and you could I suppose at the grades category, I think it would have to be I think between the two elephants. Um, Moving on to the clouded leopards of the Southeast Asia pack, and so this is the mainland clouded leopard specifically. I mean, if you like the Cinder cloud, it's the Southeast Asian feeling. I'd say the mainland cloud is by far the main species of clouded activity. It's also unique. So it'd be more closely related to big cats, but being in its own separate genus, and it has one of the most powerful bite cats. Out of all the cats in the game, this is it's actually very accurate for my counterparts. The passing is so I'm aware that there's some declining animations being a bit glitchy. I think they were somewhat fixed in the free updates alongside the re. The cloud. Starting. Although, and I will say this is easily the best type on the Southeast Asia. Well, if it wasn't for the fact that's yeah, which I'll get into later. And around here. And into the classes software, which is there's several species of butterfly in the game. Now that a lot of people would just put them right next to each other, but not since I think this is going to be based on the executed and how I thought about the species. The cloudless so suffice in general, I do think they're definitely the best walkthroughs of it. Custom shortage can either have being in your chocolate butterfly house, or you can have it so have some wildlife in a nature reserve if you saw that in your zoo. And the club is so fed so I feel like it's a bit of an obscure species, and I don't feel like it's that common in captivity. Out of all the butterflies in the game, it's because I think the least there. Using more emoji. No, and it's also just a yellow butterfly, so this is just the least interest. These are the least interesting. But in the go with it being a butterfly, I suppose. I guess I'll just put it's still more. Let's this go. Moving on to the collared peccary, the third new base game animal. It's I wouldn't say it's a base game worthy. It's not too common character, but still fairly common. There's in Berkeley that you see captivity, and it's the most widespread species with both South America and North America. And this is different style that benefits the base game a lot. It allows to actually have a finally have a primarily South American habitat animals, as the bear's tail is more of a Central American animal, and the Galapagos giant horse, yeah, it's found in the Galapagos, so it just so happens to be near South America. And there's that, but it doesn't. It's a species which with several other South American animals. It even has interspecies with the plains bisons. Cool. I will say that the model is fine. I mean, Colas Packer is a bit of an inconsiderance, and it's big into. I'll put it in the go. So I think that British artists are sort of very versatile. Right? I think just above the Alpine goats to the Colombian white-faced capuchin, the of the South America pack. It's the new first, and for a very long time, the only new one again. This is very graphic to me, since you would see multiple different species in new words marking captivity, and the Colombian white-faced capuchin is in one of those species. It's more of an occasional sight in captivity at best, and it isn't the main species of capuchin that you'd see in captivity. That would be the tufted capuchin. So of all the buggies in the game, I actually think this is the worst one. And no, that's from the South America pack, with its wrong. It's on the only new ones marking in the game. But it's not since it's not as shaggy as real life. I think it's supposed to be a bit soonish as well. And also, I don't think it uses its dash much. I guess it's the K buffer, but still not some a fan of. And I actually consider this to be the worst surf of the South America pack. It's a very controversial opinion for me to get it all. There we go. Moving on to the Common Death Adder, which is one of the many problems in the game series. It's the Common Death Adder. There's zero captivity, and it's not really a species seen as people would immediately think of, especially outside of Australia. We've got the elephants, which the game just does two Australian species rather than something that's more iconic and more honey requested, such as the king cobra or the black mamba. That's this model. It barely even looks like how it's meant to look in real life, which is meant to be a lot very darker coloration, more of a featured brown. I get that common just look like this, but still isn't what they typically look like, and makes it seem like this is a different species. And therefore, this is the first animal that I'm going over. That's going into the crap category. And considering it's an exhibit, I don't think that we cannot approaching it this slow. Tier list. Moving on to the common ostrich, obvious choice for the base game, another highly iconic African animal, it's the largest bird in the world, and it's a staple in mixed African stock paddocks. And for those reasons, it makes it a very versatile animal, especially if you want a little bit of variety in your mixed African host, so not just consist of hoofed mammal. It's another base game animals that the texturing is okay, the tails are weirdly woolly, but this is still very versatile. Yeah, very new. It's a necessity for UMX canoe style projects. Not a unique versatile as the but definitely also a versatile in the Asian water monitor. So the common warthog, which is amongst one of the most iconic species of Suidae, which presents in the place. It has a decent representation in captivity. This is another base game animal, and it's the best. I know this lots of people considers to be the worst species of Suidae. I somewhat feel that. I mean, it's tough looking, though I do feel since I'm also in records, just for like on the common warthog, going to put some of the thing, and I think, and here, that's will be where it goes. So the common wombats of the Twilight pack, it's a bit of an odd choice. The person, some more super, a lot of people wanting the Tasmanian Devil. The common wombats is pretty. What's a general on that's common in captivity? Most Australian was on that's common in captivity. That's I get that it's a fairly well known Australian, but I still feel like it wasn't as really needed for the game. It's they so controversial, but this not the biggest fan of the combats. It doesn't. I find it super made, maybe a bit more fluffy. I guess the bottom was fine, but it's all. Um. Yes, it's around here. On to the cockerel. Was it Shavak? Which, yeah, it sounds like I'm dropping the F, but I think that is actually how to pronounce its name. It's the only prosuming outside, and only Lehman prosuming in general outside the base game, which is a bit of. I should say the cockles, Shavaks in general are pretty rare in captivity. In the go. This is the most common cat species, I think, for its white and maroon coloration. It's still too rare. Now, I do think it's the best for zooming in the game. I know that the climbing that it has the same climbing animations as the other lemurs, which which is meant to also meant to leap from tree to tree. And unfortunately, they don't. I mean, I guess if one accounts its interaction with the fruit spike tree, but even then, the other lemurs have that same animations anyway. I in fact, I think it's actually very accurate for a counterpart. It's well detailed coloration is done well, and it's do think its animations on the ground are great, and allows it to somewhat small when compared to the other prosimians. So I'm actually good to put in the grades category, but still take into account the animations. I think it's probably the something choice. Then I think this will be where it goes. Onto the Puma. Obvious choice for the North America pack. It's another iconic North American animal, very common in captivity. I think when it comes to the model, for the most part, it actually looks really good. The coloration, it's well detailed. Especially the way that sets it down is the face. not a fan of how it looks. Very cartoony, especially when it opens its mouth. It's sort of just looking a bit weird, and it's another animal going into the mediocre category. I think it's actually the least return. So I'm not a fan of. Oh, no, I sort of actually putting the California sea lion. But it's between this and the California, the least move, the North America pack, though. Part of me's now full. I think I'll actually just keep it there. Move on to the Coyote of the Americas pack. It's another animal from the Americas pack that's isn't so popular since it's not that highly so highly requested, and it's a more standard species of canid. Also all around canid. It's not an iconic North American animal. It has a decent representation captivity in North America, though it's very rare in other parts of the world. I think that this is a bit of a controversial opinion, but I do think this is better than the bush dog. It's a lot more accurate. It's well detailed. Most of the canids I think are very accurate for the real spots. It's not a can that there's really care. Not that much about. So I think I'm going could be the think so this will be where it goes. And yes, I think would be indicating that I'm ranking the least popular on the America's pack higher up than the more popular ones. And finally, for this part, the Cuvier's Dwarf Cayman. It's a pretty good pack. It is the smallest crocodile in the world. I feel like the spectacle cayman so it's a more commonly found both in the wild and captivity, and I think it's the main species of cayman that most people would think of. As it stands, I'm not that big into the Cuvier's Dwarf Cayman, if I'm going to be honest. I know it isn't that inaccurate to its real counterparts, and I will say it's definitely better than the two basic crocodiles, which I'll get into later. If you just something off about the model, maybe to do with the coloration, maybe designed. I'm not exactly sure. I'm going to put this is another animal that I'm going to put into the mediocre category. I guess I'll put it. I think Genial Planet Ibex Common Wombats. And there we go. It's not able to fully see the tail, though it will maybe just about. But there we go. So American alligators start at the very top of the tier list. We have the first entry for the crap tier, the common death adder. And the next one, so go to move on to words that start with the letter D, which luckily in fact afterwards that's me to go over for the next part. So we'll have